So Donald Trump is declaring war on his own Republican Party, or at the very least, he's getting ready to go to battle with the GOP over fundraising. As I've talked about on the channel over the last few weeks, Donald Trump has been trying to build a parallel fundraising structure outside of the Republican Party in its entirety. It all started a few weeks ago when Donald Trump sent a letter, a cease and desist letter to the GOP saying that the Republican Party and all of its subcommittees, they are not allowed to use the Trump name in fundraising because some of these committees raise money for all Republicans, including those that wanted to impeach me. So all of those Republicans like Kinzinger and all of the Republicans like Murkowski and Romney, they're going to get benefits from this money, and I don't want that. And so after that, Donald Trump set up the Save America PAC, and there are other Trump-related Republicans setting up super PACs sort of to compete with the mainstream GOP. And what this means is that the Republican Party is going to lose money over it. I want to read you some reporting. It says here, the Republican Party is allegedly preparing for a clash with former President Donald Trump. As reported by the Washington Post, a senior Republican involved in talks on the future of the GOP suggested a fraught path ahead. There is going to be a war. It is inevitable. The comment comes as Trump and his allies work to create a new fundraising network outside of the Republican Party, which is allegedly fueling fears that the real estate mogul will take over the party's fundraising apparatus. And here's the thing. Trump might do that because he is a very good fundraiser. Say what you will about Donald Trump. The man knew how to raise money. The man has always been able to get people to give him their money, right? That's one of his skill sets. And even if he doesn't take over the GOP's fundraising, even if Donald Trump doesn't absolutely dominate it, he can still have a major effect. Because if people start shifting their donations away from the mainstream GOP, from the actual party, it's going to hurt them. Some folks are going to stop donating to the GOP and are going to give their donations to Trump. They might give $10 a month to the GOP. They're going to give that entire 10 to Trump. And there are going to be many who maybe still give to the Republican Party, but they might split it 50-50, meaning that they're giving 10, 15 a month, 20 a month to the Republican Party, and they're going to split it to 10 and 10. Either way, money is being siphoned away from Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy and the Republican, management people and going right to Donald Trump and his allies. And this is going to have an effect. You might say that it's going to increase the likelihood that Trump-style candidates win primaries in the GOP because Trump could use that money to fund candidates like himself and his children-in-law to basically create more Republicans like him. All of these primaries opening up. We talked about how in all of these GOP Senate primaries, Trump is either going to primary people like Lisa Murkowski, or in some of the open ones where you have retiring GOPs, he's going to actually put in his own people to try and defeat more quote-unquote moderate Republicans. And that could have an effect. That could mean that in some of these more purple states, the die-hard, Trump-style candidate gives the Democrats an increased likelihood of winning. Think about in say, Pennsylvania, if a hardcore Trumper wins the Senate nomination there's a chance that means that seat has a higher likelihood of flipping blue and going to someone like John Fetterman, right? Like, that's a good thing. And it's also potentially good for the Democrats and therefore for democracy, because the Republican Party is basically like a nascent fascist party now. That's basically what it is that if Trump takes this money away from the GOP, it prevents them from an efficient allocation. Because the way it works is that individual candidates raise money, but parties can raise money as well. And parties can use that money to target. Right? Individual candidates are expected to raise, but if you as a party have funds, you can target swing districts. You could target the Senate races and the House races that matter most, because most races are predetermined, right? We know that. There's a lot of deep red and deep blue races in the House and in the Senate. What matters is winning those close ones. And so if you lack the central funding to do all of the sorts of ads and resource allocation that you need to win, that could hurt you. So Donald Trump's desire for ego and for power and for greed and for grifting and for imposing his own image on the party could very well defeat the GOP. Because if Trump siphons all the money and the central Republican Party doesn't have the resources to win those close races, you might see the Democrats eke out victories in the House and in the Senate. Wouldn't it be delicious, guys, if the people that got into bed with Donald Trump despite knowing he was evil were defeated by him yet again, not just in 2020, but in 2022 and maybe even in 2024?